Hello everyone, welcome to Cyber Week. Cyber Week is a podcast which talks about cybersecurity with book reviews monthly. Today we're reviewing a book called The Latte Factor by David Bach. Uh, and Josephine will be the sole answer of the question, sole proprietor of the question. Is that the right English? Or
It's yeah, but it's also not correct. You'll also be giving some feedback.
Okay. So now let's start with the first question, which is what is the Latte Factor all about?
Okay, so it's the Latte Factor is really a financial self-help book. As you mentioned, it's written by David Bach, and I think there's also a second author called John David Mann. So it follows the story of a young woman called Zoey, who learns how to manage money from a barista and a successful businessman called Henry. It is funny when I was looking up, I don't know how I ended up on one of those financial websites, and I typed in Henry, and Henry can also stand for high earner, not rich yet, which I thought was interesting. Anyway, so the central concept of the book is that small daily expenses like buying coffee, eating out, add up over time and can prevent people from achieving their financial goals. So it emphasizes the importance of budgeting, saving, and investment, and it provides practical tips for managing money effectively so that you build wealth and financial freedom. I think that's essentially the latte factor. I know latte is coffee means is a type of coffee, but it's not about coffee. It's about understanding the power of small, consistent choices. And a latte in this financial sense relates to those expenses that are really, really not necessary. Those expenses that you can do away with. They're not necessary. They're not, they're not critical to your life. They're really extras in your life. So how you prioritize those expenses can definitely make it easier for you to save and to get financial freedom. So that's essentially what the Latte Factor is about.
Yeah. So I think we shall alternate. The next question, mine, then my God.
Okay, that's good. So who is Zoe then in the book?
Zoe. So Zoe is there's a protagonist in the book. Yeah, so the main protagonist. She's just like any typical person who has been in the working industry for some time, who has been making money, but the debts are still high, who is also struggling to pay off student loans and other loans. So it's a true depiction of a working man and struggles they go through to manage their finances. And yeah, she discovered that uh, there are other ways of actually making money. And like the book says, you don't have to be rich to live like a rich person. So the book dives deep into her struggles and how she perceives the world. So the whole book is all in scope with her. Yeah. So Josephine, when it comes to the aspect of if you don't know where you're going, you might not like where you end up. When reading this book, how do you resonate with the quote?
Okay, so I think we're just in the context of Zoe. if I talk in the context of Zoe, she's, as you said, she's struggling, living paycheck to paycheck. And Zoe first comes across this quote on her way to work. So she had she's, as you said, she's living paycheck to paycheck. She's always got this, on her way to work, she always buys herself a latte. And she had seen this, in the coffee shop. She had seen this photograph of a boat which she couldn't get out of her mind. So on her way to work, she got her coffee, and then she sees this LED screen which has a picture of a boat, but instead of the boat in the water, it's a boat which is stuck in the middle of a desert. And the boat is very much like the boat in the picture, that in the photograph in the coffee shop, which she can't get out of her mind. And when they on this LED screen, there's a picture of the boat. It flashes by. Then this quote comes up: "If you don't know where you're going, you might not like where you end up." And so it feels like this is a quote that is directed to her, and it causes her to reflect. She kind of thinks about where she's going, where exactly will she end up, and then she thinks, "What am I doing with my life?" I think in the context of this quote, it's really about financial goals and having clear goals. So without a goal, without a financial goal, without a plan, it means that your daily decisions, your daily spending decisions are not aligned with where you want to be in the long run. So like Zoe, spending frivolously, she was not good with managing money. She had all these debts, even had debts, credit debts, which she was paying from, it was March, but she was paying credit debts from December, from present she had bought her family and friends. She was, living in a cramped apartment, even though she's somebody who had been working and she had got raises. So it seems that she had no goals, financial goals. So she was just spending as and when she wanted. So it was like she did not have a direction. And the book also talks about mindful spending, spending mindfully with having a targeted financial goal, and also taking control by having a plan. So I think for me, this quote is really about having financial goals, so that having long-term financial goals causes you to reflect on what it is that you do on a daily basis towards achieving that goal. You know, and of course, Zoe in the book is like really embodies that quote. As I said, she's stuck in a paycheck to paycheck. She lacks a plan, and I think for her it was like a wake-up call. So she had to start considering where she was going with her money. Yeah, so I think that is it. So who is Henry?
So, first talk about Henry. I'll have to talk a little bit about Zoe's boss, who is Barbara. So, one evening, actually that morning, when she read the quote of "You don't like where you go, you may not like where you end up." So she brings up this thing of not being able to afford it. So she's told, go to that cafe you usually buy from your coffee and talk to the barista there. So when she goes there to talk to the barista, he finds that is the guy Henry. So Henry is the old man who owns the paintings, owns the shop, owns a couple of buildings along the place. And at that time, Zoe didn't know that he actually owned that. But his life, the way he presents himself, you may not think he actually owns that. So, and his financial advice is purely based on his experience of how he has been able to achieving and how he has also helped other people. As you read the book along the way, you find that Zoe is not the first person he helped, and you find that he is also a very good fan of photography, and even the picture with Zoe like was also one of his favorites. So that is what led to the conversation between Henry and Zoe. So if you go in further, how if on to the next question of if you can't afford, if you can afford the latte, you can afford the photograph, the photo. What does Henry teach Zoe about compounding?
Yeah, so basically what Henry does for Zoe is to highlight the principle of compound investing. So he says, for instance, if Zoe spends like £4.50, $4.50 for a latte every morning, and he was trying to demonstrate to her that if she put that money every day into a Zoe photograph account, then she could afford it. And how could she afford it? Because if she was to say put that money into if she could put that money, invest that money into an account which gives her 10% returns, that means that she would, at the end of the year, she would be saving like 1,850, and then because that 10% would have compounded, it means that at the end of that year she would have 1,885. By the way, I tried to do the maths, but I wasn't able to get that figure. I kept getting 2007, and I was like, anyway. So that's a formula that he gave us. So he basically says, that if she did that, so instead of that $4.50, so supposing if she put that aside, if she put $5 aside, say, at the end of the year she would have that money, and she could then afford that photograph, which was 1,200. Yeah, which is a latte factor. So the latte factor comes up as a metaphor. And as I said before, it could be anything you spend extra money on, which you don't really need, right? So things like cigarettes, cocktails, candy or whatever. And it's not about being somebody who is counting pennies, who's calling penny pinchers. Yeah, it's not about denying yourself. It's about really getting clear on what matters. And it's about the little things, the little extras. They call them frivolities. The 5, 10, whatever dollars a day that you could just easily put into your future. So it's also comes from it's about spending on, when you consider the money that you put aside, it's money that you are actually saving for yourself, for your future self. And it's also about giving up something small to get something big. So it's not about that you can't spend your money, but that you should spend it with a goal, and you should spend it consciously, so that you enjoy life and buy things that you really, really want. I mean, do you have to have a latte every day? Do you have to have cocktails every day? Do you have Yeah, so essentially that what it was. Zoe, from the assessment the barrister gave her, Zoe she was in a position where she was feeling that she was, in debt in everything. But on the analysis, it, it she was earning enough. It wasn't that she was not earning enough. She was actually earning enough. The problem was that she was spending too much of what she was earning. And the barista says that it's like most people, it's like whatever you earn, you just give away, right? He says it's like filling a bathtub with the drain wide open and wondering why it never gets full, because you're just draining away the money, the water that you're putting there. So all the extra costs, things like Zoe, in Zoe's case, the coffee, cable at home, the snacks that she kept going to buy, and all that. So I think it was the fact that that she had that if she could afford the latte, she could afford to put aside money for the photo, and the photo is really ultimately what she wanted. So that's essentially what it was about.
I'm always impressed by your research.
Sorry.
I'm always impressed by your research skills.
Oh, thank you.
We always read the same book, but I don't think we read the same book sometimes.
But you know, most of what I'm saying is in the book, right?
Yeah,
It's not that
I know that. That's what
yeah.
I'm saying. Like, your information is always richer. Anyways,
Okay. Okay, so yeah, so the next question is what does pay yourself first actually mean?
so putting yourself first is, you know, if you look at it this way, that you have your, let's say for food, there's a particular amount you give out. There's also a particular amount you give out for transportation. A particular amount you give out for, the basics of life, but rent, stuff like that. So that money doesn't come back to you. That is all money you've given to someone else. Whether you're benefiting from it or not, it's still money you've given to someone else, not something you've actually given to yourself, be it savings, be it if you want a particular goal and you're, planning to travel and you're reserving that money for that travel. That is now paying yourself first. So there's some money you have for your own use in the future to take care of. So that's the whole idea about pay yourself first. Reserving that money can help in situations where you be stuck and you actually need that. So it reminds me of that thing of saving, that saving is meant to save you in the moment you actually don't have anything else to run to. So yeah, that's the same idea of pay yourself first. But when I was writing this question, I thought you were the one who was going to answer it. So could you share
I can
some
give you
light?
my perspective on it.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Go.
Okay, so yeah, so I think the way Henry illustrates it is beautiful because what he basically says is that um, most people you're trading when you go to work, you're trading your money, your time for money, right? So essentially, if for instance you work 10 hours, why would you work 10 hours or the 10 hours and not keep at least an hour of that money? Because it's your money that you're giving. And he said he's found that most people after the government has taken the cut of their money, pay their bills, then they pay the other stuff. But they only save something after they have done all the other things, which means that a lot of times there is nothing left because you've paid your bills, you've done the other stuff, and you've gone and bought a latte and all that, and then you're thinking for yourself, which means that you often the times it's not money that you pay for yourself. So because it's a daily thing, most people find that they have worked all their lives and they've never stopped to save money for themselves. Yeah, so you work all your life and then you realize that you've spent all your life paying the taxman, paying the landlord, paying cable, paying the coffee house, paying the restaurant, but you've not paid for yourself. So essentially the lesson is every time you get your paycheck, After, of course, government, the state. Normally, you get your money after government. And I think in this example, there's it's possible to get money before the government, but in our cases, it's you always get your paycheck. So every time you get your paycheck, the first thing you should do is pay yourself first. And paying yourself first, whether it's putting the money to a retirement account, to a savings account, or to an investment account, that should be the first thing you do. And then the money that is left over, if there is money left over, then you can say, let me treat myself to that latte or to that thing, but not before that. Yeah. But it's paying yourself first. It's basically paying you and your future self. Yeah.
Nicely done. So, when it comes to don't budget, make it automatic. What does that mean? Because that means a key one in terms
Yeah.
of managing. Right?
Yeah. Again, it's that
Again,
thing.
how do you usually manage it? Because I know you can tell the difference between the aspect of you being an employee, yeah, and you're able to, manage the budgets and all that. But now also this perspective of you as an individual and how
Yeah. Yeah. As yeah, you're right. As it's basically says, yes, an organizations can have budgets easier to manage, but as an individual, it's hard to manage the budget because you're busy. Everyone's busy, and everybody has other tasks. And let's face it, drawing up a budget, keeping track of it is not something that is easy to do. So we often do the things which are easy to do. If it's too hard to do, you forget it, right? So what Henry advises is that to take that day-to-day decision out of your hands, it's important to set up a simple automatic system which runs by itself. So whether it is putting a reminder in your calendar or having what do you call it when you an order coming standing order from your salary account to your savings account or say salary account to your investment account, having it automated so that it is at the back of your mind. You don't have to actually do anything apart from check that this has happened, because it takes it's you don't need any discipline to do that. Once you've set it up, you don't need self-control. Once you've set it up, you don't have to worry about it. And then you also don't need to worry about your willpower. So it just runs. I think it means that your payments are automatically deducted. Your discipline is you're paying yourself first, and it's simple. So because it's simple, it gets done. If you don't make it automatic, you remember some days, you'll not remember others. So it needs to be easy, and it needs to be automatic, so you don't have to then think about it. Yeah. I don't know if you have anything like that in place.
Actually, I was planning on setting up one. Yeah, still in the works of that because I was thinking of something like the unit trust or the response.
Yeah.
So I'm setting up one where I'll talk to maybe one of the banks to see how we could, incorporate that easily.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is my thoughts about it.
Okay. So, making more money makes you rich. What is your perspective on this statement from what Barbara said?
Very, very interesting one because some of us are victims of that. So yeah, you get more money, then for some reason you still end up with debt the next day, or even if you don't end up in debt, you still end up having no money at the end of the month, and like how comes I got more. So this all goes back to the person because as an individual, most of the time you feel like, okay, this amount of money is what I usually use a month. But when you get more, it's like you increase your liabilities. And even the things you never used to do, you start doing them. And at the end of the month, if you're evaluating because some people do not have. You don't evaluate how much money you're actually spent on what, but in the long run, you're like, what happened to the rest of it? So yeah, so that's a big problem. So most of the time, if you, that's why I said making it automatic is very key because sometimes you'll be like, okay, I've budgeted for this, I've budgeted for that. Because at least me, I know I'm very good at, budgeting the money to ensure that most of my basic needs are taken care of. But at the end of the day, the biggest one is usually the service. So I am the person who gives everyone else the money and I forget about myself. I don't pay myself first. So yeah, that's a big issue which I think starting from next month I think I should have sorted that out. So yeah, that is my perspective on it. But I'm curious on your side, how is it like?
Yeah, so that statement, making more money makes you rich, of course, is, it's easy, it's simplistic, and it's not really true necessarily. What makes you rich is not a bigger income. It is what your habits, saving, investing. So as you said, most people, when they make more money, they spend more. So that statement can only work if you create new habits around your finances. So um, having financial goals, and building your wealth through saving, through investing, through smart financial arrangements, like what Henry's saying, the automated deductions and all that. Um, and I think and I think when you just because you have more money, if you have not done anything with it, it means it doesn't give you wealth. It also doesn't give you financial freedom. The ability to live under your own terms. You can't have financial freedom if you don't have money to do what you want to do and to work when you want to work. So I think that statement definitely means doesn't mean that you get wealth. It just means you have more money, but you could just spend it even more. But it's what you do with it that counts.
Okay, so on to the next one of someone else who come and take care of. What do you think about that myth about money?
Yeah. So and unfortunately, a lot of people assume that somebody else would take care of the issues, especially when you're if you're married, you think your husband will take care of your your health. I mean, your financial wealth. Your husband, your boyfriend, whatever, they'll take care of that. In Zoe's case, her for instance, her dad, her mom was assuming that her dad would take care of the finances, and also the Henry's friends, Georgia. She also thought that her husband would take care of finances until he wasn't, and she realized how much debt they were involved in. So there is no one is going to come and save you. And Barbara, when Barbara tells Zoe about this, she gives her some statistics, um, especially about women. So she says women still earn 20% less than men. Women are more hurt by downsizing. When companies downsize, typically women are the ones who get cut first. They spend 10 years out of the workforce, uh, mostly looking after children, looking after their parents, which means that they also then accumulate less in terms of retirement account in their retirement accounts than men, which also means that their social security benefits are lower. So yet women live on average longer than men. So they say 7 years average, and half of all marriages end in divorce. The odds are strong that when a woman gets first of all, it's out as strong that the woman is likely to spend her last years on earth on her own as a widow. And statistics that Barbara gives are that 80% of married men die married, but 80% of married women die widowed. Yeah? And 4 out of 5 widows living in poverty were not poor until their husband died. So they've been expecting. So the lesson is they've been expecting that their husbands are going to be taking care of their financial wealth into their old age. That doesn't always happen. So it's important then that everybody plans for their retirement, and plan for it yourself. It comes around very quickly. It's very easy to say, Dale, like you would say, me, I'm still young. I'm in my 20s. But it comes around quickly. And it doesn't hurt to start saving those $5 here, the 10,000 there, 50,000, 100,000. If you make it a discipline, it means that you are taking care of your future self.
Thank you for that. There's a question I would want to ask, which is one is if there's a gap, because with that is a very gap in their work because of having a child and all that. Do you find it's really hard for them to transition back? And secondly is, should now someone start prioritizing also financial literacy from a spouse when it comes to planning on getting married?
Oh yeah, yes. Of course, there is a challenge with any working up. When you left work, coming back is not always easy, because a lot of employers would ask you why, and if you've not sold yourself well in terms of what you were doing in that gap, then it's a challenge. It definitely is a challenge, but it's something that increasingly support needs to happen in the sense that it should not be seen as a gap. When you're taking care of children, you're not sitting idle at home. You're gaining skills, managing a house and all that. So I think it's how you said it, but employers need to recognize that this is something that has to happen. A lot of times it's a choice between either I work and I pay expensively for home care, or I take care of that. So it's a balance that has to happen. Financial literacy is key. And I personally think that it needs to start much, much earlier than just before you get married. It needs to start from schools. I think as a student, as a young person, it's easy to say, oh, my parents will take care of this, my parents will take care of that. But if you don't understand to what extent your parents are going to support you, and to what extent you can do what you can do to make sure that you create your own financial wealth. I think you can very easily just assume that someone will take care of it. My parents will take care of it, but I don't think that's even the case. Too many young children assume that their parents' wealth is also their wealth, which is not the case. So I think the financial literacy needs to start from very early, from schools. Of course, it doesn't help that it's still hard for young children to get accounts. But it's something that should be done so that they start managing their own money at that level, where they understand that if I want something, I need to save for it. It doesn't just happen. Just that I'm not just given it, and also need to understand how exchanging your time for money works. You don't just get money because someone's giving it to you. You get money because you exchange your time, you put in effort, and then you understand the actual value of money. So I think that's important.
Thank you for that. Any final thoughts about the book?
It was very nice, very refreshing. I like the fact that it was told so well. It's funny. I'm still reading the book on make money grow. I think is it make money grow. I think I told you about. So it was I was picking up some lessons from that side and also seeing the same lessons that have been talked about on this side. Especially around having retirement accounts. Of course, having retirement accounts. Of course, they're very US specific, but there are many lessons to be learned about saving, and especially when you're working, getting your employer to match your savings and all that. That's interesting. But what I really got out of this, which is good to get a refresher, good to repeat good money lessons, to learn to get a refresher, is to have a plan, a financial plan, have a financial goal, be intentional, but also live for today with no regrets. My favorite life lesson is the third one, which is live rich now. So not to live with debts, not to live, but live with a plan so that you can actually enjoy your life now without saying, okay, I'm going to wait until I clear my debts before I buy that photo, or I do that, or I go for the class of for photography class that Zoe had, or before I travel. Save for it, so plan for it so that you can enjoy your life. What are
Yeah.
your thoughts?
I think it's a very good book in terms of with my second time reading it, and still as good. And just at the first time when I read it, it helped me align myself when it comes to ensuring that I I you know budget accordingly. Even if the book doesn't talk about budgeting as a good solution, but it helped, know that this amount of money. So that's why I find that most of the times I don't have debts with anyone. Yeah, so apart from MTN, but yeah, most of the times
How do
uh,
you have a debt with MTN? How is it even possible? They normally cut your service before that.
that's the thing about them. So they keep on cutting their money. But most of the time, they ensure I pay them time. Yeah, apart from MTN, the rest, I usually don't have debts with anyone. Yeah, but yeah, I've, I've tried to now working with the part of the paying yourself. That's like my biggest challenge. So I find hope easily automating it. Uh, when money comes in, just let it take those percentages so that I don't be doing it manually. Because whenever I do it manually, just for some reason the money has to find it because disappears in some weird way. So you have to work on that aspect of ensuring that is automated completely. That's not in my hands. Otherwise, if it's in my hands, I don't trust myself to do the right thing. But yeah, so I would like to finish up there.
I like the
Uh,
way you say, sorry, I like the way you say that the money goes in some weird way, like it's magic or something, when you don't pay yourself first.
exactly. The rest of the people, it's very easy for me to allocate and be like, okay, these people get this, that, and you find
Yeah.
at the end of the month, oh, even if now like a good example of people, so make sure I pay the person who usually handles my food for the full month. I know that I won't starve for the full month, but when it comes to other things, and yeah, you find that there, it's usually a struggle, but still, you find that I've maintained the cost within, but paying yourself first, that one has been a very challenging, very challenging. So that's
Yeah.
one I really want to work on. So that
Yeah.
at least,
And paying yourself first in putting the money away where you can't have easy access to it.
yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah.
thinking of maybe factor. So I need to talk
Yeah.
to like the people who bank with me and see what works best.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like and subscribe as usual. Josephine, yeah, like YouTube. Do you have a YouTube channel? Yeah, the Cyber Weekly's YouTube channel.
Yeah, I do have a YouTube
Yeah,
channel, but it's not.
channel.
There's not nothing. Everybody has with your
Yeah.
have an account. Yeah. Yeah, but I don't. There's not much. I don't have anything on that.
Okay.
No content.
But me, I have several channels. There are some which I tested out. Please, people don't check them out. Stuff is really terrible. The quality. Anyways, the episode which I want our viewers to actually check out is Tuesdays with Maury. That was episode 21. So check it out. Have a good day.